Welcome to the Nest Podcast, your weekly home for sports news, video game reviews, and hot takes with your hosts, Brandon, Zach, and Justin. Enjoy the show.
What is up, guys? Welcome to episode 109 of the Nest Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon. Joining me are both of the boys, Justin and producer Zach. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
What's up? What's happening?
Not too much, guys. We have to start the episode on a bit of a sad note because Major League Baseball has shared the news that 2 Hall of Famers have passed since the last time that we talked. First, last Monday night, that was August 31st. Tom Seaver, Mets legend and Hall of Famer, passed away at the age of 75 as a result of complications from Lewy body dementia, no clue what that means, and COVID-19. So apparently the COVID has struck a Hall of Fame legend, at least on the official charts. I don't know, but it sucked to hear about Tom Seaver passing away. And, you know, he was one of the all-time greats, and it sucks anytime one of those guys die. And then just last night, we found out that Cardinals all-time great and National League home run king, Steals king, I'm sorry, Lou Brock, passed away at the age of 81. And the cause of death is not clear yet, but we know that he had some deteriorating health. In 2015, he lost a leg to diabetes, and in 2017, he was diagnosed with cancer. So it sucks. Zach, what's being said locally about Lou, and what was his significance to the city and to the Cardinals organization?
Yeah, I mean, most people around here are pretty crushed by it, especially the old school people that remember him playing. From what I've heard is he was just a really great guy, nice to everybody, just a real people person. And I mean, of course, on the local newspapers and stuff, he's on the front page of it. So yeah, you can definitely feel the impact of losing him around the area. And a lot of the players have tweeted out, you know, that they are sad about his passing and everything like that. And one thing that I saw that was funny was him and Molina were once interviewed, and the interviewer asked both of them if they think that Molina could throw out Lou Brock. And they both said at the same time, it depends on the pitcher. And they had a moment.
That's pretty interesting because, you know, it does a lot of times depend on the pitcher. Does he have a fast delivery? Is what speed is his pitches throwing? You know, if he's throwing a big looping curveball, it's going to give the catcher a lot less time. Probably going to be low in the strike zone, so he's got to bring the ball from the ground all the way up, transfer it to his throwing hand. Speedy guy like Brock is probably going to be able to get in there.
Yep.
You know, Jeff Passan tweeted out a pretty unreal connection between the two, and it said that Lou Brock faced Tom Seaver more times than any other pitcher that he ever faced, with 157 plate appearances. And likewise, Tom Seaver faced Lou Brock more than any other hitter in his entire career.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the parallel is just unreal. And the fact that they died, you know, a week apart is pretty devastating.
Yep.
But speaking of memories and stuff like that, I tweeted out something earlier this week that I was tuning in to watch Mookie and Mitch Moreland and Brock Holt and the rest of the boys from the Red Sox take to the field. And I had a lot of Red Sox Nation hit me up with some angry comments. They're like, oh, this guy doesn't even pay attention. He's not even watching. That's so, you know, 2 years ago when those guys, clearly they didn't get the joke that I was just trying to remember the good times, because 2020 Red Sox has been terrible. It's not been fun to watch, guys, to say the least. You know, we saw that Chaim Bloom was going to come in and try to mix things up, and we saw that he was going to make some trades and try to rebuild some stuff. And I'm happy to report that when he inherited the team, they were the 30th ranked farm system in major leagues. After the trade deadline, they've moved up to 25. So we're on our way, coming back up, rebuilding, getting some new guys in, trying to get some more talent in the farm system. And that's going to be huge coming forward. that's not even counting the players to be named later that he's acquired in a lot of these trades at the deadline. So once those guys hit in the offseason, look for the Red Sox to shoot up another couple of positions and just continue that momentum building that farm system.
So what you're saying is the Boston Red Sox are the Browns of baseball.
No, I'm not saying that at all, because the Browns have been terrible for decades and the Boston Red Sox are just rebuilding right now.
Yeah.
I got to bash on one of your teams because you tend to pick winners.
It's not that I pick winners. It's just that I'm a born winner, Justin. And that's just how it happens.
But let me say something on the subject. I don't know nearly as much about baseball as you guys. It does frustrate me that they throw COVID-19 in there as part of the death. I feel they're going to do the same with the other guy too.
Lou Brock.
Lou Brock. That's just so frustrating to me because it's just a way for that statistic to grow even higher, when I guarantee you that wasn't the cause of death, and they probably wouldn't have got it until they were brought in anyway, if that was part of it. But you said that just something that really frustrates me, man. I'm about tired of hearing every time somebody dies, it's got something to do with COVID, because we know those numbers are elevated.
Yeah, I mean, that was a statement per MLB Hall of Fame that he died. Tom Seaver died as a complications of Lewy body dementia, which again, I have no clue what that is. I'm not a doctor, but then I saw that the COVID-19 was thrown in there, and I was like, oh, well, that's pretty convenient. Yeah. But like you said, it's probably one of those things. He didn't even have it until he was brought in, or maybe he caught it, and that kind of is why he got sent to the hospital in the first place or whatever. And then the Lewy body dementia, that kind of was already at a critical state, because
that's been killing him for years. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. And it's one of those things that it's like, oh, it fits a narrative, and it sucks that is part of it. But that was the official statement from the MLB Hall of Fame on his death.
Because I know my dad passed away with brain cancer, and we knew that that's what was going to take him and all that. But if it happened around this time and they threw COVID in there, I think that would just take me over the edge.
Sure.
But that's why I hate they did that, because his family, and, I don't know. I just feel like it's a scare tactic, and that's very frustrating that they do that.
Yeah, and they're saying that, the majority of people that have the coronavirus or whatever that have died from it had pre-existing conditions. So that just goes to that point where it's like, oh, we'll just slap this sticker on there as well. So it does kind of suck. But let's get back to the 2020 Red Sox, because I'm not done rambling about them yet. If you would have told me, Zach, at the beginning of the season that the Red Sox were going to be a last place team and that they weren't going to do much this season, I probably would have said, yeah, you're right. They just got rid of Mookie Betts. They're in a clear rebuild mode. They're probably not going to materialize into much. Chris Sale announced that he was going and getting his Tommy John surgery early on. And then whenever Erod did get his coronavirus, and then he had the myocardial-itis or whatever it was, the inflammation of the heart, that kind of set him aside and derailed him for the entire season. So I knew that they were going to be pretty crappy. But if you would have told me at that same time that the New York Yankees would have been third place in the American League East at the beginning of September, I would have called you a damn fool. But here we are. Here we are after the first week, and the Yankees are on the cusp of not even making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, especially when you think about all the weapons that they have and just the sheer talent they have on that team. Even if they are hurt, there's still other guys that are on that team. DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres, that you would think can pick up the slack of Aaron Judge and Stanton being out. I don't know what it is. I want to lean towards their pitching isn't super great, and they can't keep up with the amount of runs that they give up. But I'm not 100% sure that that's what it is. It's just crazy to me that they're third place.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit a nail on the head with one thing with their pitching. Garrett Cole has been absolutely dog shit for the Yankees. And that's surprising, because he's the man that got the record contract and all that stuff. He's boasting a 4-3 record with a 3.63 ERA. That's not why they paid him, $900,000 to start this year.
Yeah. Gee.
Once you get paid, man, that's kind of like I'm going to bring it up again when we start talking about football. You mentioned Watson getting paid. Once you get paid, all that pressure's off of you to perform. He's locked in, and that's why I feel like anytime there's a contract signed, there has to be some type of stipulation, because you got him an 8-year contract. It's inked out. Who's to say he has to do anything?
That's true.
A majority of that money's guaranteed. So,
and that's why a lot of these guys don't live to see the full length of that contract, and they end up getting traded or whatever before the contract expires. And, right now, Cole is already sitting after 9 starts. He's sitting at 13 home runs given up on the season. He's had 4 full seasons in the majors where he's given up less home runs than that. Crazy. Yeah.
I wonder if that's because he plays in Yankee Stadium now and he has to pitch in a place that's so goddamn easy to make home runs,
Imagine that. Imagine that the reason that the New York Yankees are so prolific on offense is also such a detriment to their pitchers.
Yeah. I mean, think about the amount of pitchers that we can rattle off that wore a Yankees uniform. Roger Clemens, their closer, Mariano Rivera, Chapman. There's a few, but
I can't believe you just mentioned that guy in the same conversation with Mo and Roger Clemens.
Right, it's just a guy that I can rattle off, basically. But what I'm getting at is there's not a huge, plethora of amazing pitchers that come out of the Yankees organization. There's onesies and twosies that were great, but they're not known for their pitching. They're pretty much known for their offense.
Well, and if you're talking about coming out of the system, Roger Clemens was first a member of the Boston Red Sox. He was not out of the New York Yankees farm system.
Right.
Mariano, I believe he was brought up in the Yankees farm system, so I'll give you that one. But you're right. I mean, there have been some good ones. Andy Pettitte comes to mind. But for the most part, yeah, they go out and buy guys who were already good other places and bring them in. It's not working out with Cole. And like you said earlier, a lot of guys have been injured for the Yankees this year. Of course, Stanton always hurt. Mr. Glass, Aaron Judge, always hurt. LeMahieu spent some time on the IL this year, so it has been rough for him. All in all, the Yankees are batting a lowly 236 batting average for the season. The aforementioned last place Boston Red Sox are batting 261 on the season. So
yeah, that won't get it done.
Right now they are the 8th place team. If the season ended today, the playoffs would have them as an 8 seed, which means in a regular season they would miss the playoffs. They're just barely hanging on because of the COVID season where they have the expanded playoff rosters and all that stuff. If we see the Yankees fail to make the playoffs, does that make their current management and coaching staffs a distant memory? Are they out the door?
I would think so. I would assume that the Yankees ownership would like to have a World Series here pretty soon, because they've gone a decade now without one. And that is almost unheard of. So I think they're clamoring to get a World Series, and that's why they paid Cole, because they figured they have the offense, they have the young talent, they need good starting pitching, and like you said, it ain't working out, and you can't really afford to pay someone else to come in unless somebody's going to take that Cole contract. So I think they're kind of stuck with him for a few years.
I feel like it would be hard to fire anybody right now with all the stipulations and all the COVID and the short season, and like they would have to really be on a hot seat to get fired at this point during this season.
Well, like Zach said, the New York Yankees have not won a World Series since 2009.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
they brought in Joe Girardi to solve that problem, and that didn't work. They fired him, sent him down to Philadelphia. They brought in Aaron fucking Boone to try to fill in that role, and he's not been able to do it. He was a mediocre baseball player that had one huge highlight in 2003, and then he's come in and he's been a subpar manager for the most part that's not been able to navigate the postseason waters. So that's a guy that I think is definitely on the hot seat.
Absolutely.
And Cashman, for what it's worth, has been able to bring in some good talent, but he's not been able to get everything together that clicks. He's had huge contracts to Cole. He took on that mammoth contract of Stanton. He's sitting there ready to write a check to Aaron Judge, even though he's proven that he's injury prone. They all still think, oh, well, he's going to come back as that rookie season Judge where he hit 50 home runs or whatever.
Yeah.
He hasn't done that since his rookie season because he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say to Justin's point. This is years in the making. Aaron Boone has been kind of lackluster for a couple of years now. I mean, there is no excuse when you have all that talent. And they went and got a pitcher, and just because you pay a guy doesn't mean he's going to perform. But I think the management, the front office has done all they can do to help the team. I mean, there's only so many people you can pay to come onto the team. There's only so many people you can make good. They've got plenty of weapons. That the weapons are not the issue. I don't know what the issue is, but I mean, the logical place to start is Aaron Boone. That's what everyone does. They start fresh with a new manager, see what they can do.
Yeah, if I'm the Steinbrenners, I'm getting rid of Cashman too. I'm going to say, look, this isn't working. We're going to bring in another GM that we think could make it work. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the Yankees went out and tried to get the former GM of the Astros, Jeff Luhnow. Bring him back into baseball. He obviously has no morals, so he'll fit right in the evil empire.
Yeah,
it's like a perfect marriage right there.
Should be able to save some money on that one too.
I mean, he's almost at the blackball stage, so yeah, you probably get him at a much cheaper contract. But while we're talking about, memories and those guys potentially being a memory for the New York Yankees, we've got to talk about one of the worst umpires in recent memory, Joe West. Joe West recently, just a guy that can't see balls and strikes happening inches in front of his face, somehow looked up into the stands and saw the Nats GM, Mike Rizzo, without a mask on, and promptly ejected him from the game and called security on him.
General manager, we're talking. He's not in the dugout. He's not doing anything. He's probably up in his booth or whatever they have that they can watch the games and watching the game. He's not important when it comes to the gameplay.
Nope.
You're out.
We'll wait for you.
Somebody's getting kicked out. Hunter Wendelstedt sees somebody in the upper deck. On the second deck.
Call security.
Somebody's been ejected. Either Joe West or Hunter Wendelstedt saw it, and they've asked security to be called either in the second deck or third deck. And they said, we'll wait for you.
And there,
who's beside him?
Mike Rizzo.
Who's near him? He's standing alone.
Yeah, not a
Nationals
person.
GM who's traveling with the club here in Atlanta.
Oh, I think it is. It might be the way he was yelling back.
He doesn't have his mask on, is what Joe West just told them.
Now we're seeing a wide shot. There isn't a person within
our
50
cameras can
feet of
see.
him. That's insane.
And if they're going to ask him to
And look,
exit
Joe West has his mouth
because of a mask and there's no
exposed.
without,
He pulls it down below his nose and to talk. So that is the most hypocritical thing ever of Joe West, to sit there, pull the mask down. And that's why you're kicking him out, is because he's not wearing a mask. That is bullshit.
That's insane.
How did he see that in the first place? We've seen it time and time again. The guy can't see for shit.
Yeah.
He calls balls that are strikes right down the middle.
Maybe if he was paying attention to the game instead of looking out into the stands for people not wearing masks.
And Wendelstedt, the other guy that they were mentioning in the clip, he's just as bad. He has a school for umpiring, and I made a meme or whatever that was a blind umpire, and I was like, "This is the official logo of the Hunter Wendelstedt school of umpiring because he's just as bad as Joe West. So the fact that those two are on the same team or on the same officiating crew, that's terrible. Go ahead. All you need to do is add Angel Hernandez, and it's the trifecta of suck.
Yep. Good God.
That had something more behind it. He was waiting on that moment to throw that dude out.
And that's what I've read after the fact is maybe Rizzo was yelling down at him, like complaining about a call or something like that. And that's what caught their eye and drew the ire from the officials. But still, if that's your justification, oh, he's not wearing a mask, call security.
That's stupid.
Come on now.
Yeah, that's what a terrible look.
I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed umping at their stadium because you're done.
Well, I don't think they have any control over that.
No, they're assigned. Officials are assigned. So
yeah, the whole officiating thing is so fucked up because there are umpires that are notorious for being dog shit, and Brandon just named them all, and I was going to name Angel Hernandez if he wasn't going to.
Yeah, stepped on your toes a little bit.
Everybody knows Angel Hernandez. Everybody knows Joe West and his fucking gobble neck. They are dog shit at their jobs, and I hope they enjoy their jobs because they're not going to have them for very long. The second a robotic ump is good enough, they're going to get replaced. I mean, they're terrible.
And that's coming, dude. Like the Twitter world has lit up officiating this season because of how egregious it's been. They're even calling for the robot umps. I've seen verified accounts with a hashtag robotic ump. You know, it's going to happen. It's already been tested in the minor leagues. They're just waiting to bring it up. 2020 is going to be the catalyst for them to do that because it's been so terrible.
Yep. This is the exact opposite thing that MLB needs right now. They do not need bad press, and this is just one more thing to scar the image of MLB. If people don't have anything to do and they're tuning into a game, and it just so happens to be that one, and the whole game gets put on pause so that someone can get thrown out for not wearing a mask while there's not a single person in sight of him. I mean, what does that do to a potential fan? That makes me think, well, this sucks. I'm just going to go watch something else. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's just bad look all around. What's been going on with the Cardinals? I saw that they are second place in the NL Central. They're, locked solidly into the playoff hunt right now. And that's got to be exciting for you living there in St. Louis, to, even though you can't go to the games, to know that your team is actually making a run at it in 2020.
Yeah. It's really exciting, especially the whole, pause that they had to take for COVID and everything. They just finished up a 5-game series with the Cubs. They played 5 games against them in 4 days, which was a pretty good, amount of work to do. And they did well. I believe they lost 2 and won 3. So not too bad. Last night's game was especially interesting because it was so windy and balls were just flying out of the ballpark. So I think that helped them out a little bit. But all in all, they did very well. Obviously, Yu Darvish was very difficult to hit against. But other than that, they're relatively easy to hit on. Their bullpen isn't real hot. Like we've talked about before, Kimbrel is just nothing to really talk about, honestly. So it'll be interesting to see down this last stretch of the season if we can keep it going. And then you also have to think they have all these games to make up. What happens if that doesn't pan out? Are they just going to be given the free pass while the rest of these teams have played more games? But technically we have a better record, but we haven't played as many games. I don't know how they're going to hash that out. I don't know if they're going to even be able to make up all those games because, how many doubleheaders can you possibly play? I don't know.
It's definitely a challenge that you guys are under to try to make that deadline or whatever. And I don't know. It will be interesting to see if you guys come up maybe 10 games short of everybody else or whatever, because they've already said they're going to use the winning percentage, not the total number of games played, because at this point, pretty much everyone has had some games interfered with.
Yep.
Maybe not as many as the Cardinals. The Cardinals record right now is 17-15. So that's like what, 33 games. And the Cubs, who are in first place, are 23-18. So that's 42.
Yeah.
So
About 10 games.
9 games more that they've played, but the winning percentages are pretty close. So I can see how the Cubs could have a gripe if the winning percentage of the Cubs is a little bit less than the Cardinals, and the Cardinals get that higher seed in the playoffs.
Yep.
So we'll see, but
that's the COVID season for you. It's just all hell's broken loose.
Absolutely.
But wouldn't it make sense though that if you have fewer games, your winning percentage, it'd be easier to get a better winning percentage the more games you play. So you got
not
more
necessarily. Not
more
necessarily.
of a. It could work out either way though.
If you lose more games and you've played more games, then your winning percentage is still low.
Yeah, but I mean, it could go either way. Like
it could go either way,
so
but
it shouldn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're using the winning percentages, because, in that 10 extra games, the Cubs could have gone 0-10 and boom, their winning percentage like plummets.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the only way that they're really going to be able to make it even remotely fair. And I think, honestly, if it comes down that the Cardinals are like 10 games or more less than everybody at the end of the season, then they should take some kind of knock and not get like a number 1 seed or number 2 seed or whatever. I don't think you should win the division if you play less than 10 games in the rest of the division.
Yeah. That's just completely not fair. I don't understand how they're going to do that. I don't know. We'll see. It's pretty much the Cubs and the Cardinals in the NL Central.
Yeah.
Brewers have not managed to do much. The Reds haven't managed to do much either. So, and obviously the Pirates are actually like the worst team in all of MLB. So for the NL Central, it's basically just 2 teams going at it. Actually, the Brewers aren't that far behind, I guess, but there's no way they're going to be able to make that up. They played a lot more games, but yeah. Look at that terrible record.
But want to see something else?
Oh man,
the Red Sox are right there with them, neck and neck for the worst team in baseball. The Braves are pretty good. Yeah, they're in the NL East.
Yeah,
right there.
There you go. Yeah, nice. So. Wow, the Nationals are doing dog shit. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, they've not been doing so well. That's actually one of the few teams that the Red Sox were able to beat up on this year was the Nationals.
Interesting.
But Zach, you mentioned Craig Kimbrell earlier. Did you guys have to play him at all whenever you played the Cubs?
Yeah, they brought him in last night.
Did he complete the save, or did you?
No, we beat him.
That seems to happen almost every time Craig has gone out there this year, and it's not just because he's a freshly shaven individual now, because he was starting to lose it when he was with the Red Sox, but he does look ridiculous with a baby face.
I honestly couldn't even recognize him. They said that Kimbrell was pitching, and I was just like, if he didn't have any kind of markings, there's no way I would have been able to tell that was Craig Kimbrell. Yeah, he did that little arm thing, and I was like, okay, I guess I believe you now. But yeah, the shave was not a good move on his part. He basically lost all of his notoriety with that, because it's definitely not in his pitching.
No, definitely not. And, we're a fan of beards on this podcast. And in fact, the Nest podcast is sponsored in part by The Beard Struggle. If you've ever tried to grow a beard, then you know the struggle. We can help you out. The Beard Struggle has tapped into centuries of Viking knowledge to inspire beard growth and overall health. Tap into your inner Viking and check out some of the great beard products available at thebeardstruggle.com. The ultimate kit comes with everything that you're going to need to get your facial hair on point. You're going to get day and night elixir oils, the scruff balm, and a full beard balm. You're going to get a bottle of specially formulated beard washing conditioner, and you're even going to get a Savage brush to try to smooth it all out. Use our promo code NEST20 at checkout and you'll save 20% on every order at thebeardstruggle.com. And don't forget, guys, we've got the promo for this ultimate kit going right now. You can go to our Facebook page and find the promo picture for that. Share that out, like our page, like the Beard Struggle, comment, tag some friends, and you're going to be entered to win that ultimate kit, which is $100 value. And you could also win yourself some Nest Podcast t-shirts. It's a great deal. Go check it out.
Heck yeah.
Zach, we've never talked about tennis on our podcast.
I don't believe so.
But we have a reason to do so now.
Yep.
And you said that you wanted to talk about it, and I was like, well, what is he even talking about? So go ahead and tell us what you know about the world of tennis.
Yeah. So yesterday, famous tennis player Novak Djokovic was disqualified from the U.S. Open, which is obviously one of the biggest Grand Slams in tennis. And he basically, in a bit of frustration, hit a ball with his racket towards the back of the court and hit a line judge in the throat with the ball. And I guess they determine that it's out of anger and not out of not an accident, and that's why he was disqualified. But we've got a little clip here that we can share, and we can just show the people for themselves.
We want to turn now to that bizarre moment at the U.S. Open that so many are talking about. Top-ranked tennis superstar Novak Djokovic abruptly disqualified from the tournament after he hit a ball toward the backboard and struck a line judge in the throat. Adrian Bankert has the latest.
Game, Carreño Gustavo.
He was undefeated. Now he's out. The number one tennis player in the world ousted from the U.S. Open. Novak Djokovic hit a ball out of anger from the court, frustrated after losing a point to Spain's Pablo Carreño Busta, accidentally striking a lineswoman in the neck. You can see the star player immediately running over as she collapsed to the ground to see if she was okay. Medics running to the court to attend to her.
Wait, guys, we've got a problem here.
Within minutes, judges determined she could not return to the match, and neither can Djokovic, the top-seeded player thrown out of the tournament. He shook Busta's hand and left quickly without speaking to anyone.
I think that it was bad luck. No, you cannot do this. But of course, I think that Novak never wants to hit the line umpire.
USTA officials speaking about the incident overnight, defending their decision.
According to the rules, he had to be defaulted. The line umpire was clearly hurt. He hit the ball recklessly, angrily, and that was the right decision, I believe.
Djokovic saying, "This whole situation has left me really sad and empty. I'm extremely sorry to have caused her such stress. So unintended, so wrong." He added that he needs to turn this all into a lesson for my growth and evolution as a player and human being.
Yeah, so there was basically the highlight of it. I guess it was out of anger. He didn't seem very angry at the time, but I guess the story was that he had lost a point and was upset about that. I don't know.
I've watched a lot of tennis. Growing up, I actually played a little bit in school, and they do that all the time. These pros will fill the tennis balls, right? They'll have 2 or 3 in their pocket, and they'll fill the tennis balls, and then they'll just hit them behind them for the kids to run and grab, or the line judge or whoever. It happens every single match. So this dude accidentally, I guess he lost the point, accidentally hits that was very unfair. It happens all the time. It just bad luck.
Yeah.
I was looking him up while that was playing. This guy has won 17 tennis Grand Slams. That's 2 shy of the record. He's the only person in tennis history to hold all 4 Grand Slams played on 3 different playing surfaces simultaneously. This guy isn't a scrub. He's not a rookie or anything like that. He's been around the game for years. He didn't do that shit intentionally. My question is, why the hell is she standing directly in the line of fire anyway? If his opponent, I'm not even going to try to say his name, but if his opponent had hit an ace and it bounced on the court and then bounced up and hit her in the throat, is he going to get disqualified because her dumbass is standing in the way?
That's their spot. There's one on each side of the line. She was in the right spot, but she played it up. She's a little bit of a Karen right there. I mean, my
She had
God,
the haircut.
she acted like she got hit by a bowling ball in the throat. I mean,
Yeah, you could tell he didn't hit that ball very hard.
No.
It probably, startled her because I mean, getting hit by a ball is weird, but I think she was probably fine. I don't know. That was a very strange event there to happen in tennis, and I mean that's basically like knocking out the best player in your entire organization from one of the biggest Grand Slams, and now it's just kind of like some second place person is going to win it because the best player is out.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen the video of the kid running back to that spot and he trips and goes head first into the wall?
Yep.
That little last kid managed to get up and stay, and this woman barely gets touched. So she's like, ugh.
Yep.
Now, granted, getting hit in the throat would hurt.
Yeah.
But he didn't hit that thing like it wasn't a serve. It wasn't traveling at 110 miles an hour. He tapped it off to the side. Like Justin said, they do this all the time. It's common practice. I don't watch tennis, but I've seen them be like, oh, this ball sucks. Hit it off to the side. Somebody goes and shags it, maybe throws it out to the crowd. It's like, oh, here, have a souvenir or whatever. But, oh, man, get out of here with that crap.
Yep. Very lame.
Justin, you mentioned it earlier. Deshaun Watson got paid this past week. 4 years, $156 million with $111 million of that guaranteed. He by far has been recognized now as the quarterback of the Houston Texans, and he is the first quarterback in the state of Texas to get paid. What does that mean for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys?
First of all, Dak Prescott can't hold a candle to Deshaun Watson. If you can, Dak had that one good year, his rookie year, kind of a little fluke year. Dak don't deserve to get paid half of what Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson earned that money. Granted, like we kind of talked about, I kind of wish they would have gave it to him after the Chiefs game, so he could have played a little bit of fire, But he's the type of guy. He was a winner in college, and he's still a winner. And I feel like he's gonna go out there and play the same, if not harder. I mean, you're getting paid that. People are looking for you to do the best to your ability. But I think Dak's in the same situation. He's just not that good. I don't know why he thinks he's deserves to be paid up there with Mahomes and Deshaun and all these people. I don't understand it, but I see him eventually sitting out. I don't see Jerry Jones putting up that kind of money for Dak.
Well, right now he's under the franchise tag, getting $31 million. Next year, he'll also be eligible to get the franchise tag, which would pay him somewhere in the vicinity of about $36 million. And, last season, he had 4,900 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. His quarterback rating was 99.7. So he put up a hell of a season last year.
He's still like he's getting paid about where he needs to be.
That's what I've always said.
He's where he needs to be. If you go through, you can see that I'd say almost 75% of the quarterbacks threw for 4,900 yards last year. That started. I know Drew Brees did, Aaron Rodgers did, and Aaron Rodgers had a terrible year. Matt Ryan didn't have a good year. He threw for more than that. He's exactly where he needs to be, and if he thinks he deserves more, then he needs to go out and
win a playoff game.
Yeah, win one playoff game. Yeah.
Dak Prescott was second in the NFL last year with his 4,900 yards.
He still don't deserve.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that makes him think that he can just want all this money and expect it to come. If Aaron Rodgers is getting whatever he's getting paid, and all these other quarterbacks are getting this franchise tag, I'd be perfectly fine with $30 million a year. Like that's not chump change. If the franchise tag was $10-15 million or whatever, something lower, then maybe. But the franchise tag is good money. I don't understand why he just is so hung up on this money stuff, because they're already paying Zeke. They're going to have to pay someone else to keep them around. I think they gave Cooper. Yeah, they gave Cooper a deal. If they pay him, all of those other weapons are going to go away, and any chance they have is going to dwindle. Dak is doing better than he was recently. I think he really had a shit sophomore year. He's picking it back up, but if I were him, I would not want to just immediately go for that high ball contract because it's just going to screw you. It really is, and I don't think Jerry Jones is going to bite regardless.
Now, what was Deshaun's contract?
4 years, 156 million, 111 million guaranteed.
Say it goes up to 36 next year. It's going to keep going up because quarterbacks are going to keep getting paid. 4 years at 36 million, Deshaun Watson's going to be making $144 million over 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like he's that far behind. And for the fact that he said he couldn't feed his family on that amount of money,
that was a
rough take. Yeah,
get out of here. I lost all respect when he said that. That's I don't know, man. We feed a family of 4 for like 1% of that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Kiss my ass.
And he gets to play a sport for a living. He doesn't actually, work a regular job. So he's lucky in that regard.
He's pushing to be a $40 million man, though. That's with this new contract where he's getting Deshaun's getting 38, 39 million. The next iteration is going to be 40 million.
You know what? Quit asking this from your GM. You're about $4 million away from that. Get on your agent, get you some ads, get you a contract, a billboard, a commercial.
Yep. The only thing I've seen him in is that chunky Campbell's soup commercial, and I haven't really seen him in much else. Yeah, get you out there, get your Instagram going, get some sponsorships. You don't need all of your money to come from your NFL team. The highest paid people in sports have shit tons of endorsements and sponsorships.
Look at Peyton Manning. He's still getting paid in retirement.
Absolutely. He does the nationwide commercials. I think he's probably still does Papa John's. I mean,
he cut ties with Papa John's.
Oh, did he? Okay. Another athlete that hasn't played in years but is all over TV is Shaq. He always has some stupid commercial going, and he's getting paid by those.
He jumped in Papa John's when Peyton jumped out.
That's right.
Pretty much.
But, even if you do something like that, you could possibly get royalties out of that you don't get out of football.
That's
so
true.
for the rest of your life, you'll be getting checks in the mail from Chunky Soup or from Nike or whatever. I mean, for the rest of your life, you don't have to worry about where money's going to come from. Or you could sit around and complain that you can't feed your family off $36 million a year and do nothing. I don't know.
Yep.
If he gets on YouTube, he's got 2 million subscribers right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right because he has that name value.
Yep.
Last week, we told everybody about Leonard Fournette getting cut from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we kind of speculated at some of the places that we were going to go. Well, that conversation is now a distant memory, and Lenny has found his way across the state of Florida and signed with the Brady Bunch over in Tampa. What do you guys think about the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers going into this season?
Go ahead, Justin.
I'm going to be honest with you. I seen this happen a few years ago in Philadelphia. I seen them pull together a dream team that everybody was talking about, and they're like, how in the heck are they getting all these players? And they didn't even make the playoffs. They have to play. I'm not saying it because I'm a Falcons fan, but we have arguably one of the best offenses in the nation. They have to play us. They have to play the Saints twice, and they have to play the Panthers twice all year, not to mention the rest of the NFC schedule. I don't see them winning the NFC South, more or less winning a Super Bowl.
Yep, I pretty much agree. I look at them like the Cleveland Browns. They acquired a whole bunch of players, and it was supposed to be the time, and then I think they won like 7 or 8 games or something. I definitely think they'll do better than they have in recent years, but that's not saying much.
That's not hard to do. They're dead last every year. So
right.
I think you're right, Zach. I was going to say that they remind me very, very much of the 2019 Browns. All the hype that money can buy going into the season, and they do have a pretty rough-looking schedule. Saints, Packers, you mentioned your Falcons on there, which I don't.
Rams, Chiefs.
You play them late in the season. You got the Vikings. Yeah. So I mean, they do have some tough playoff caliber teams in that schedule. I really do get that 2019 Browns vibe from this squad, and when it all falls apart, It's not going to be Brady's fault because they're not going to blame it all on him. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be the head coach, Bruce Arians, that kind of gets the shit end of the stick on all this. He was dealt all of these talents and he's forced to try to get them to gel. And it just might not work like that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do here. As far as I know, the whole one and done thing doesn't really work in football. So you can't expect that they're just going straight for one Super Bowl this year and then just whatever happens.
No. They're built for the future now, Zach. In case you haven't heard, the Miami Dolphins cut Josh Rosen, and guess where he signed?
Yes.
Of course, he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and
That's
he's being
good.
slotted into their practice squad. So that's the future for Tampa Bay.
I don't get it. It's
I'm telling you, Tampa Bay, there's something about them, man. Like you say, they're like the Browns. And whenever the Eagles did that and they got their dream team, you know what? They were in a hole for like the next 3 or 4 years.
And that's what's going to happen here. You can't expect to acquire all these big name talents and pay them what they expect to be paid or want to be paid, and then have anything ready to go on the back end. They've had to give up numerous draft picks to get some of these guys to come in. Of course, they've been lucky, and Gronk fell in their laps. Fournette fell in their laps. Rosen fell in their laps. But to acquire some of those other pieces that they have, they've had to wheel and deal and try to get them. So I just don't see it happening. But Josh Rosen, has anybody had worse luck to start their career than that guy?
not that I can think of. I mean,
drafted in the first round. Well, Johnny Manziel's was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Rosen was drafted by the Cardinals, and then he saw them turn around and draft Murray number 1 overall the following year and say, oh, your services are no longer needed. Go to the team that's actively tanking for another quarterback right now. Then he got to that team. They were selling off all of their pieces, and they told him, hey, just go out there and play. And then they replaced him with Fitzpatrick. And then they said, okay, well, you're not good enough now that we got our guy that we were tanking for in the first place. And now he's on the practice squad behind Brady, behind whoever else they have as their backups and all that stuff. And he's not going to see the field this year.
Colt McCoy had a very similar experience. Like I said, they both played for the Browns, him and Manziel. So that was their problem. Rosen didn't have to go that route, but
he still was with 2 shit teams before he made it to where he's at now. But
yep. If you remember in last week's debacle of an episode, I said that Leonard Fournette would be a great player in the XFL, and Brandon didn't really take to that idea too well. So maybe this time you'll like it a little bit better. I think Josh Rosen might end up in the XFL.
He would light it up out there, boys. I'll tell you that.
I mean, I don't know much about his college career, but he was good enough to be drafted in the first round. So that has to say something.
He had a heck of a college year.
I think he's just been kind of screwed over by stupid teams that wanted to get the new shiny toy. And instead of developing him, they went and got whatever was next. And it might just be that he's just been screwed over by all these dumb teams. Obviously, like you said, the Buccaneers are not going to use him this year. So if he ends up on an XFL team and can actually get the ball in his hands, he might do well.
I think he had the Joe Burrow experience. I think he wasn't really that great, and he had one solid year, and it propelled him to be a first-round draft pick because quarterbacks are sought after in the NFL. And he got picked, and then he wasn't really what they wanted in Arizona, which ironically, the coach that drafted him is now the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I guess whatever. But I think Joe Burrow is going to have a pretty similar experience in Cincinnati in that he's not going to come in and just win championships like they thought that he was going to after his Heisman season at LSU.
Well, and I think it's just stupid for organizations to think that in the first place, because with all those young guys, they immediately just get thrown to the fire, and they get the starting position soon after whoever the starter is that they name, because they never officially name the guy that they draft the starter right off the bat. They let some other guy kind of take the reins for a little bit, and once he doesn't do shoot so hot, they throw the rookie in there instead of letting him develop for a year, maybe a year and a half, and play the preseason games and play the shit games that you're either blowing out the other team or the other team is blowing you out, just to kind of get their feet wet. Instead, these organizations just throw these guys to the wolves and they sink or swim. And then if they don't do so hot, they think that it's because of their talent level, which may or may not be true. But I've always said in the NFL, it's so much different than college, and you have to think about so many different things. It's better for young quarterbacks to just kind of ease into it. I mean, name a quarterback that was a stud, that was a first round pick, that is still winning championships. Cam Newton hasn't even won one, and he is probably the only guy I can think of that was a stud in college, immediately was given the reins in Carolina, hasn't been able to do it.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even call him a stud in college, though. I think he was just kind of an anomaly, kind of like
Lamar Jackson.
I don't know.
Lamar Jackson hasn't won a playoff game.
Right, exactly.
He's on his way, buddy. He's something else. And I disagree with you, Brandon. I think Burrows is going to end up being a really good long-term NFL quarterback.
It won't happen in Cincinnati, that's for sure.
No, you never know. I mean, Cincinnati, man, there's like kind of, who do they got? AJ Green's, 38, 37 years old now. They got Joe Mixon,
who's a jig running back.
Yeah, and he's a decent little pass catcher. I can't even think of the other receiver they have. I mean, they're going to have to get him some help in order for him to produce. But I rewatched that Alabama LSU game the other day. It came on the ESPN Plus app. And, dude, Joe Burrow, his ball has got to be one of the prettiest balls I've ever seen in my life. Like, he really picked him apart. It was absolutely insane.
And that's all well and good behind a solid offensive line and throwing to guys that can catch. When you're going 3 and out every possession, that doesn't bode well for a career. But let's go ahead and move on from shitty rookie quarterbacks. But Zach, I do want to talk about one thing real quick. To you, one of your points that you made, the Miami Dolphins have already announced that Fitzmagic is going to be their week 1 starter, and they're going to let Tua kind of learn a little bit more before they throw him to the wolves. The Washington football team back in the news this week for releasing Adrian Peterson, former MVP of the league. They said, hey, thanks for the memories. We'll see you later. He also quickly found a new home in Detroit. And what's significant about that is Peterson is 5th all-time in league rushing with 14,216 rushing yards. Number 4 on that list is the great Barry Sanders with about 1,000 more yards than AP. Will we see Adrian Peterson pass Barry Sanders on that list while wearing a Lions uniform?
He's got to get 1,000 yards,
roughly.
Oof, that's a tall order for an aging running back.
This is a guy that wants to get 20 to 30 touches a game. So if he's getting fed the rock like that, it's definitely doable. And, he may end up coming back next year.
If Jamie is listening, can he Google what Adrian Peterson's running yardage was last year? Because I would have to imagine that Washington fed him the rock. I don't know. I don't know if he can do it. I guess if he stays healthy, he might be able to, because it's not like Detroit really has anything else going on. I don't even know who's their quarterback now. That is it still Matt Stafford?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's more pass heavy, but I guess, let's see. In 2019, he had 898 yards. I guess it's possible. I don't know. I don't know how he looked last year. I don't know if he was good or not, or if he was just
And he was also with the Washington football team, which was a pretty crap team, to be honest.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
and moving into the Lions, they've been in a rebuild mode. They've been trying to get better for years. We'll see if Matt Patricia finally has it figured out now that he's getting Stafford back, because I think I saw a stat, something that the Lions were leading in the fourth quarter of 7 or 8 games last year. They just weren't ever able to close them out. If they were able to win a lot of those games, I know they were beating the Packers twice in the fourth quarter, and then Aaron Rodgers staged comebacks. They were beating the Bears late and stuff like that. So if they were able to win a lot of those games, we could have been talking about the Lions in the playoffs last year without Stafford. Now Stafford's back. You add Adrian Peterson in the backfield. Could be a good team, a good surprise team for a lot of people.
Yeah. There's a lot riding on whether or not a running back can simply just stay healthy. I mean, it's such a rampant thing in the NFL where quarterback or running backs just get hurt. I mean, obviously it comes with the territory, but especially older, I can't imagine he would come back from like an ankle injury or a knee injury quickly as a young player would. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's definitely something to keep your eye out on. And Justin, we just had our fantasy football draft this past Saturday, and I want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in and watched that debacle unfold. But Justin, I have to say something that you probably won't necessarily like, and it is that you and Bill Belichick actually have something in common.
What's that?
You went out on record and said that you're not going to pick a kicker until your last pick, because you basically had to have one to fill out your roster. But even in your other leagues, you've done away with kickers altogether. The Patriots are at it again. They just released their 53-man roster, and there's not a single kicker on the roster.
Wow.
They cut both of the kickers that they had in training camp and then re-signed them to the practice squad. Now, I know what a lot of people are out there thinking. They're, well, obviously with Cam Newton being the starting quarterback, they're just going to go for 2 every time. Fuck it. That's not actually true. It's Bill Belichick being the master manipulator of the NFL rule book once again, because in this COVID season, they've given him an out. He can keep these kickers on the practice squad and bring them up the day of the game.
Wow. Do they have to be on that 53-man roster day of?
That's when he would add them to the 53-man roster and bring them in. So that gives a little bit of an advantage to the Patriots going into week 1, because the Dolphins don't know which kicker to prepare for. Either the veteran kicker, Nick Folk, or rookie kicker, Justin Rohrwasser. I'm really hoping that it's Folk, because it's a much easier name to say and spell. But the difference is one's a left-footed and one's a right-footed kicker.
Oh,
and
wow.
if you're going to be blocking field goals or PATs or whatever, knowing which side that the kicker is coming from is a huge advantage. And if you don't know that, you don't know what defensive schemes to practice. So it's just Bill Belichick being a master manipulator once again.
Man, what a sly dog.
You know why I waited? The kicker that I wanted, I knew would be there. I did it in my other draft, got him both times.
Who'd you end up with?
Young Hoku from the Falcons. Nobody knows about him yet, but he only missed 1 field goal all last year.
Nice.
He's basically an internet sensation. That's how they found him.
I know who you're talking about.
He did backflips and still making 50-yard field goals from doing a backflip. And I knew it. I looked down to see where he was at on kickers, and I was like, ain't no way nobody's getting Young Hoku. So I could wait.
Well, and that's fine. That's part of your strategy or whatever. I just wanted to give you that nod to say that you and Bill Belichick rate kickers about the same. But I do want to talk a little bit. I mentioned Cam being the starter. The news came out that he's officially the starter for week 1. He's earned that starting job with the New England Patriots. Surprise, surprise. We all kind of thought that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
What shocked me a little bit was that he was named a captain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
And winning the starting job, that tells me that he beat out Jared Stidham, and he won the coaching staff over with his work ethic and his performance in practices. Winning or being awarded the captain role tells me that he won over his teammates. And all the teammates, everyone that I've heard speak out about it is like, yeah, no matter how early I get here in the morning, Cam's already here working out. I've never, I think you got him in the draft pick, Zach, N'Keal Harry. He came out and said, I've never seen Cam leave.
Wow.
Like Harry always leaves before Cam does. Cam's the first one there, the last one out. He's proven that he is a leader. They asked him today, Cam, what does it feel like? What is your fit in New England like? And Cam called it a match made in heaven. He loves being in New England. He loves working with Bill Belichick, and he's fully embraced the Patriot way. Once the Patriots start getting those wins, he's going to win over all of the fans that have said that it won't work.
Yeah, it's going to be scary for sure. Go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, I drafted him in my league. I drafted last night. I drafted him and also drafted Gronk in like the 14th round.
Wow. Yeah, that's surprising. Gronk was one of those guys that went pretty early in our draft.
Yeah, there was a ton of tight ends ahead of him, but I was going with hoping him and Brady would have that little 5-yard connection, you know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Gronk's able to stay healthy this year. It's going to be a big question mark is if he can even stay on the field.
Mm-hmm. Taking him that late though, I don't really care if he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't put all my eggs in his basket, so if he goes down, man, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. To Brandon's point about Cam's work ethic, that was something that Kobe was always known for. I can't remember who it was, but a significant player said that he came to a warm up before a game and Kobe was there shooting and he shot and they kind of had this unspoken like back and forth thing. And the other player said that he was exhausted and he left and Kobe stayed. And he later on talked to Kobe about it. Like, how can you stay out there for so long? And he said, I got to let you know that I'm working harder than you. So no matter how long you were going to stay out there, I was going to stay out longer than you. And when you see something like that in somebody, it's a telltale sign that they mean business. I think Cam is in a good place. I would assume that he's healthy and he's healed from those injuries. He's dangerous. Of course, everything's still up in the air, but it's dangerous. I mean, we all know what Bill Belichick is capable of. They haven't really lost too many weapons that they had with Tom Brady. So basically that team is still there. You've still got that good defense as far as I know. It's going to be very dangerous. And plus, like we always say, they're in an easy division. So the world is his for sure.
The problem with the defense this year is that they've had a lot opt out, which we'll see how that plays. You know, the next man up mentality has always been something that the New England Patriots have embraced and thrived with.
Sure.
And, you know, we've got guys like rookie Kyle Duggar that will be coming in, and he's from Lenore-Rhine University or whatever. And apparently he's been making waves in training camp. So we'll see what happens. Week 1 is right around the corner. Like Justin said earlier, we're like 3 or 4 days away from the kickoff with the Chiefs and the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
So boys, it's back. Football season's here. And next week when we come on this podcast, we'll be talking about actual games.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. I did not think that we would get to this point. But it's exciting that we're here. Does anyone have any kind of crazy predictions for that Chiefs game?
Yeah. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is going to go off.
I think, are we doing like bold picks?
Whatever you want.
Let's do a bold one. Kelsey will have over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Game 1.
Ooh, that is pretty big. That's pretty bold. I just really foresee that Clyde Hilaire is going to have a solid rushing attack. Not a lot of people are going to know what to expect from him going in, and I think he's going to get 25 touches and he'll rush for over 100 yards. Nice.
Yeah, I can't wait, honestly. It's going to be pretty exciting to watch.
You got to give us one, Zach.
Oh, God. I don't know. Here's one that's not play related. will any of the players kneel, and will they show that, and what's going to be the whole speculation around that? Because I don't know if you've paid attention, but NFL has kind of changed its tune about the whole kneeling and the Black Lives Matter type stuff. So will that be a prominent thing displayed in games this year?
They'll kneel, but you'll only see it on Twitter because the NFL doesn't show the national anthem anyway. So if you're going to see it, it's going to be because you're scrolling through Twitter or Facebook and somebody's posting it.
Interesting.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say you probably won't see it on TV, but you know how the media likes to show all the negatives in life? Everybody in the world will know about it.
Yeah. It's interesting because some of the other leagues have kind of taken a stance and, exposed that kind of stuff. NBA has allowed players to have banners or whatever, if you will, on their jerseys, and they've put things on the courts. MLB has kind of done a little bit similar. And I think the NFL for the last few years was notoriously kind of against it because a lot of the NFL fans obviously are, quote, good old boys and maybe don't necessarily agree with that kind of thing. But as far as I can tell, they've kind of changed their tune with that. Goodell has said that he regrets not conversing with Cap. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see a big change in their stance and their display of that kind of stuff. And if they do have a change, what does that say about their current, the current issues going on? Like, has it reached a point to where they're kind of reaching those people that didn't really want to hear it before? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It's something that we'll look for this week whenever we actually get to watch some games, and we'll definitely be back to talk about it next week. You guys have anything else you want to say?
I'm good.
Shout out real quick to Nest Rider Brad Chandler. He's going to be on the Rip Griffin podcast on Thursday night. If you guys are interested in an in-depth baseball conversation, that's definitely one that you'll want to look out for. And other than that, we'll be back here next Monday night to talk about all the latest NFL action and whatever's going on in MLB. Talk to you then. Peace.
I'll say this. Down he goes. One shot, JD.
Thanks for listening.